Appeals. Each side is allowed 10 minutes to present their case and 3 minutes for rebuttal. A 2-minute conclusion per side may be allowed if questions are asked by the council. Appeal number 1. Matthew Allen for Northshore Riverwatch appealing the Planning Commission's approval on February 10th, 2026 of concept subdivision plans for Piney Ridge Estates, subdivision located north of Louisiana Highway 190, west of Penn Mill Road, Covington, Louisiana, Ward 3, District 3. Development owner, Precision Development Group LLC. Engineer, Duplantis Design Group.
Okay, Mr. Allen, please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Chairmember Tanner. My name is Matthew Allen, 13058 Major Lane, Folsom, Louisiana, and I'm here representing Northshore Riverwatch. And really, come on, people, I can't believe we're here. Last year, we had this rezoning denied all the way through appeal up to here. And all of a sudden, we're here with a conceptual plan? It really doesn't make sense. And the optics of this for y'all is not good. You wonder why people don't trust the parish council. This is one of the reasons. But, and also really, $250 for an appeal? That almost seems to be trying to keep people from making appeals. That was a lot of money for a retired teacher here. But what happened? I really don't know how we got here. Don't see any court records. I've tried to look them up. Although I'm not a lawyer, I don't have full access. And there's enough reason to deny this particular conceptual plan past it being rezoned over residents' opposition. And 2 main reasons for denying this. This plan has 70+ homes in a flood hazard area. Are we really going to keep building in flood hazard areas? Do we have to channelize our natural and scenic rivers because of the political pressure of people flooding? This river system has exceeded base flood elevation 6 times in the last 40 years. Wait, let me repeat that another way. This river has exceeded the 100-year flood that's on the record from FEMA 6 times. And you want to put 70 more houses in this floodplain? Come on. Also, the sewage. Prune Creek, which is never named on the plats, they avoided that, is a scenic tributary to the Tchefuncte River. We've been able to keep other sewer plants out. We don't even know if they can use the neighboring Magnolia sewer plant for this. And you're going to approve a conceptual plan? We spent months of meeting last year. And again, I went over the optics. It's just not real good for y'all. And y'all have, I think a lot of it is you don't know the powers y'all really have. I gave a little handout to y'all. I wanted to put out, as not all the regulations, but just to point out that you have a lot of discretion in your legislative functions here, all the way through the parish council. Louisiana RS 38-101.1. Act of approving or disapproving a subdivision plan is hereby declared legislative function. And underneath that, I didn't highlight it, any act of y'all is a legislative function, and y'all have immunity from liability for that. Okay? Y'all have used this against residents through the last 20 years I've been before y'all. I've seen it. And yet I've never seen y'all once use your discretionary limits against a developer. Who are y'all working for? Are you working for the developers or for the people that put you in power here? And Ms. Calzabon, I've even told you about this. And you always say, oh, they're just going to sue us, so we have to approve it.
Sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Please keep on the subject.
I am. This is the subject.
Do not call out the council members, please.
I'm just repeating what I've been told by council members on this particular topic. Now, the next one, number 2, LARS 9-2798.1. Liability should not be imposed on public entities or their officers or employees based on their exercise or performance. Y'all have had every right to deny it, and as soon as they throw a lawsuit at you, you cave. What kind of backbone is that for parish council? And, but yeah, y'all have a lot of discretionary immunity for your legislative acts here. There's no reason that this would not have been defeated in court if you had chosen to go that way. Now, I also want to point out, I've been preaching on floodplain ordinances for years, and one in particular. But I want to point out that by not following your floodplain ordinances, you could end up on probation from FEMA with an extra $50 charge to everybody's flood insurance. If it's not fixed, you could lose everybody's flood insurance. So these are federal codes on flood insurance you have to follow. The first one, 44 CFR 5959.24. Community eligible for flood insurance which fails to adequately enforce floodplain management regulations, meeting the minimum requirements, which is all y'all have on the books, is subject to probation. And I go in there and highlight it for you. Also, 44 CFR 60.2, minimum compliance. The community shall adopt and enforce all your mandatory floodplain regulations. And to go on from there, I'm almost done. This is all to get insurance. And the state even has it. Number one, Louisiana, RS 38, Section 84, allows y'all to do the work to get flood insurance and as necessary to comply with the requirements. And then Part D, each parish and municipality shall agree to participate in and comply with applicable provisions of the federal floodplain management flood insurance programs before construction of any project for local flood control. And then there's a real specific one. I'm going to cut it off here. On the very last page, your own ordinance. This is a required federal ordinance that has to be in your ordinances for us to have cheap flood insurance. When a regulatory floodway has not been designated, and that's the Chifuncta River system, no new construction, substantial improvements, or other development, unless it's demonstrated that the cumulative effects will not increase flood hazard, the flood height by 1 foot. I've been begging you all to do that for 10 years now. You've asked me, where's that in the ordinance? I'm giving it to you. And this is in the federal ordinances too, that you have to do. So basically, what I'd like you all to do is overturn the conceptual, because the concept is not good for this area. And if not, then at least make them get a DEQ approval for the sewage and prove that you're not going to increase flood heights for the surrounding area. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to override the approval? Okay.
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Are you going to speak to override the approval?
No, ma'am.
No, okay.
Sorry.
All right. I'm going to read the list of names that are in favor of, let's see, in favor of the appeal. Okay, that do not wish to speak. Carlo Vaquero, Jake Vaquero, Jamie Segura, Christina Gould, hope I said that right, Jesse Vaquero, Pete Vaquero Sr., CJ Vaquero, Pete Vaquero Jr., Glenn Vaquero, Pete Labraday, Elizabeth Vaquero, and Jake Labraday. They are in favor of the appeal, but they do not wish to speak. At this time, okay, we have 2 more minutes on it. All right, at this time I will ask for the side that would like to have us approve the what the zoning commission do. Do we have anyone that wants to speak? Okay.
Well, he does.
Okay. We need you to fill out a speaker card, but if you want to state your name and address and fill out a card afterwards.
Sure. My name is Derek Peliquin, representing Precision Development Group. My address is 111 Timberland Ridge Boulevard, Karen Crow, Louisiana, 70507. I just want to state a few things. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. Obviously, we've been through this road, down this road for quite some time now. I just want to reiterate a few things by way of process. Again, I sat as a director of a planning and zoning commission for years, and so I understand process very well. I understand the fiduciary duties that you all hold along with the commission. But I will say this, obviously a UDC code was put together by St. Tammany Parish. We went through the process, step in, step out, side by side with the parish to put together. Obviously we got the zoning approved and moved forward with the conceptual plat. We have met every single requirement requested by that UDC code for this property. We have gone through every study required at this point in time, which was a traffic impact analysis, which has been done by Neil Schaefer, submitted to DOTD. DOTD has provided us with what they require us to do should this development be approved and built. That would mitigate traffic on Highway 190 and the corner of Pinmill, that intersection of Pinmill Road and Highway 190. That is done and completed, assuming this moves forward. We exceed the ordinance with regards to green space as required. I'm going to try to address some of the things that were just spoken about in opposition. At this time, we are not required to deliver any engineering, period. This is a conceptual plat, simple concept. Moving forward, should this be approved, we pull the trigger with DDG to move forward with the drainage impact analysis, which then gets returned into FEMA for floodplain management. We don't know what the outcome of that is. We still have a process to move forward to figure out. With regards to sewer, I will state that we have provided a will serve letter from Magnolia Water Systems that they can take on the system. Obviously, we have engineering. A plant has to be designed on what the increased size of that plant would be for them. We have allocated a lot in this development that touches their current treatment plant at Pinmill Place, just to the north side of the property, that we would, it's not impacting any additional space but ours, adding an additional cell. Any improvements obviously to that has to be engineered, submitted to DEQ for approval, and in coordination with Magnolia Water Systems to take that on. But they did serve a will serve letter for water and for sewer. That has been provided to the parish since very, very early on in this process. But at this point, no engineering has been done at all. We still have a long process to go through engineer, and there's a lot of scrutiny on this project. I completely understand. I've been through floodplain management for a long time. We understand the concerns of people, and obviously if FEMA says we cannot do it, we cannot do it. All I'm asking for is that you abide by the UDC code that the parish has put in place and follow the steps that we're required to follow. That's all we're doing here. I appreciate any consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have at this time.
Okay. Thank you so much. We have,
Technically, Mr. Allen gets 3 minutes for rebuttal.
okay,
He'll get 3 minutes for rebuttal. The council then can present their questions, and each side gets 2 minutes to answer
okay.
questions.
Mr. Allen, your rebuttal for 3 minutes.
Thank you. Matthew Allen again from Northshore Riverwatch. And yeah, he may have checked all the boxes, but does that mean that all the boxes were specific for this particular location? We're seeing this across the board in the regulatory infrastructure in Louisiana. The developers, the applicants, check all the boxes, which are real general, with nothing in particular about the specific site they're talking about, and expect that's an automatic approval. But that's why we do these public hearings. Let citizens speak out. Okay, just because he checked all the boxes doesn't mean that this is the right plan for this place. Again, 70 homes in a flood hazard area. That gets exceeded regularly. You have to add fill. Where's that water go? That's pushed out of the way onto neighbors, downstream, into the Tchefuncte River faster, possibly faster, increasing flood heights. We don't know because y'all never required the studies. Green space, yeah, it was up in the front, out of the flood zone. That's backwards. Green space should be in the flood zone. Not required for engineering. Y'all can say whatever's required. They have a letter from Magnolia. That's not approval from DEQ. We were able to stop a sewer plant back in 17 from going into this after it because any more sewage into the stream would degrade it, which is not allowed. Okay. So the will serve really doesn't mean anything here. I would ask if you go ahead and approve this to preliminary, make them have that letter from DEQ that saying they did the modeling before it gets to preliminary. It'll save us a lot of fights and a lot of time. Okay? And it's not just FEMA that approves it. FEMA left to the state, and the state leaves it to y'all to do the floodplain management. That's why they have it. You must enforce it. Thank you.
Okay.
Does the representative from Precision wish to use his rebuttal time?
Okay, yes. Mr. Pelican, do you wish to speak? You have 3 minutes.
I will simply say in response that everything that Ms. Allen is requesting and speaking about has to be submitted and approved. Everything has to be submitted. Everything. FEMA, DEQ, floodplain management, traffic impact analysis, drainage impact analysis, everything has to be submitted. I cannot proceed without submitting it to the parish's engineers for approval, as well as the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Casaubon?
Does anybody else want to speak?
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Mr. Pellegrin, I'm looking for Ross also, but I don't see him.
You need to come up?
Yeah, please. I understand we're at the preliminary planning stage.
Yes, sir.
A lot of these things do not need to be submitted at this point. Are you saying that you will be required to submit and get opinion from DEQ?
Absolutely. We have to have a permit from DEQ. I don't get a permit from DEQ without submitting a plan.
Okay.
Not just by myself, but from DDG Engineering, who designs the plant in coordination with the current system that Magnolia System has in place. Basically, the idea is to build an additional cell or 2 cells in the lot that we've allocated to tie into their system, and instead of putting a secondary discharge into the same channel, is using their current discharge. Now, that has to be approved clearly, but we have to build out a plant that has to be engineered, designed, submitted to DEQ, approved by DEQ. We would have to get a permit for both.
I appreciate you.
With water as well.
Good deal. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's all I had for you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Liner, could you come up here? Were you listening to these?
I was.
Okay, good. Can you add to this conversation that we're having? Just from staff report kind of
Yeah.
addition.
So-
because what I'm looking at right here, I don't have much of a staff report, to be honest with you. I mean, you all may have submitted one, and I can't find it, but I'd appreciate you elaborating a little bit on this.
So where we are, we're at the concept level of a major subdivision. So that goes through the process. First, there was a zoning change. Then that zoning change gets approved. Then, based on the acreage, developer comes in, looks at topography, looks at the shape of the lot, puts together a development plan. It's called concept. It's conceptual. Brings that to the commission, and they're required to meet certain metrics. The zoning classification has to be certain lot sizes. They have to make sure the streets are certain width. Try to accommodate for what they think the drainage would be, because at this point in time, it's conceptual. It's, can this particular lot, the street layout, this topography, create a subdivision based on this design or this conceptual design? So the answer to that was yes. Now, at the next step is construction documents and final plat. That's where, between this stage now, where we are at either an approval or a denial of concept. So if you get approved that concept, then you move to construction documents and final plat. So with that approval at concept allows the developer to have reasonable expectation that he's going to go spend money on engineering, hydro, drainage plans, traffic impact analysis, water and sewer infrastructure, things like that. So the first step is conceptual. Can this particular layout work on this lot? And then again, that gives somebody a reasonable assurance that I'm gonna go spend some money and do the real design and get into the meat and bones of it.
And I'll just talk louder. And hello. Okay. And the DEQ will come into play
Absolutely.
in the final at the final stage.
Yeah, we need permits from all state and federal agencies and St. Tammany Parish. So
Okay.
we're not at that stage yet. He hasn't done the engineering required to be able to even submit for approval.
I get it. But so I guess what my next thought would be, Mr. Allen, does that satisfy your concern when it comes to DEQ having some say-so on this project?
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I really appreciate that question. And yeah, DEQ does have the final say-so here. But why would you go ahead and go through all the preliminary without knowing, or even approving this, without knowing whether DEQ will allow them to increase that sewage into the small scenic stream? And just a backhand calculation, about 150 homes at 400 gallons a day, which is DHS, about 62,000 gallons of treated wastewater into a scenic stream, additionally to what they already have there.
Treat it.
Yeah, treat it. That doesn't mean it's clean. I wouldn't drink it. It means a permit means you're allowed to add pollutants to a certain degree that they determine would not hurt the river. But because of Scenic River, they have to determine that before they can even give a permit out.
DEQ will.
Yeah, DEQ would.
Determination.
And if they don't, I'm going to raise hell about
But
that.
they don't do it here at the conceptual level.
Yeah.
They do it at the next stage.
They do, but I'm saying that conceptually, 70 homes in a floodplain with sewage going into the Scenic River is not an appropriate thing for y'all to be approving.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mary?
I just want to make sure the council's aware that we received 2 items before the meeting. On the first one is in front of you on your little the little raised part by your nameplate. The ones on top is what Mr. Allen submitted for this first appeal, and then the blue folder will be for the second appeal. I just want to make sure y'all are aware that that's there for you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kugel?
Thank you. Ross, I had a question for you. Appreciate it. I'm just trying to understand the process, and I think Mr. Allen alluded to it. So this was previously, correct me if I'm wrong, this was previously denied, then it went back, and now it's approved. Is that normal? How often do you see that?
I'll defer to legal on that, but the definition of normal, I mean, what's typical? I mean, there's nothing typical in this business.
Okay. Is that something that regularly occurs?
I wouldn't say it's regularly, no.
Like in the last few years, how many times have you seen that happen?
I'm not going to guess.
Okay. And some of the concerns Mr. Allen meant, I think, tell me, I don't want to misrepresent your position. Some of the things like with DEQ will, wait, Ross.
Well, I
Sorry. No, for you. That would be some of the DEQ things those would be addressed at the next look,
Correct.
The next stage of
Yeah,
it, which
and
is normal.
If certain permits from state and federal agencies and St. Tammany Parish aren't achievable, then they will not, get permits. They won't move to the next step until those particular permits are able to be obtained by federal, state, and local jurisdictions.
Okay, so the DEQ, although I understand what he was saying is, why would you proceed at all without a DEQ analysis or whatever? Is it correct that that's normally, it's standard procedure for that to be at a later stage?
Yeah, so right now this is a low-level conceptual plan that allows someone, again, reasonable expectation that they can go to the next level and spend probably several $100,000 to determine if they can obtain those state, federal, and local permits based on a conceptual layout. So you got to have something to bring to the commission to say, this is what I plan on doing. How does it look? Meets all the check marks, boom, go to the next level. I'm just speaking in general. Then you go spend that money because you have a reasonable expectation that I get to spend the money and get told yes or no that I can achieve these permits or not.
So the DEQ concerns, but standard operating procedures, those are addressed at the next.
Correct.
To the process.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Including flood studies.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Impostata.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Tanner. Ms. Lynham, one quick question. The green space, Mr. Allen mentioned that it should be in a different location. As you go through this process, is it possible that it can be moved in the
Absolutely.
future? Okay. And I guess the only other question I had, and I really don't know who to direct it to, but I want to make sure I understand, the zoning is already intact. So we're talking about a conceptual plan.
Yeah, so I mean, you wouldn't be able to go to the commission and show up with a concept plan for a zoning classification that doesn't match the conceptual plan of the subdivision. It's like I can't come with L1 zoning and come up with an S2 subdivision. I have to have the correct zoning to bring to the commission.
This is not going to change the density of
No.
the subdivision.
No.
And you would know this as well as I would, or anybody else, I think, here on the staff. We probably have the most stringent drainage regulations for a subdivision in the country.
Yep. If we would have had these provisions and these rules and regulations 25 years ago, we'd be a lot better off. But
We'd
we
be a
have
lot
them now,
better.
and we're in a good place moving forward.
And we have stringent rules and regulations across the board, contrary to what I hear from developers all the time, that this is one of the most challenging places to develop a subdivision.
As of lately, we've been
A lot of
getting it
rules.
right.
But still, with that being said, if a person has their zoning intact, they do have a right to develop property that they own
If they can obtain the correct permits.
if they can obtain the correct permits. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Laughlin.
Thank you. Ross, please stay.
Yep.
So we're saying conceptual, but let's be even simpler. We're still on paper, right?
Correct.
This is just drawings on papers. No subdivisions are being approved or anything like that, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if I were to draw an analogy to my world in real estate, you wouldn't do a study on a piece of property until at least you've optioned it, right? Or you wouldn't buy it first unless you find out if it's got wetlands on it, or if you can even build a business there, or a home, or whatever you want. So is that why your department recommends, and why we crafted the UDC to have this stage first?
Yeah, it's very similar to the land development code we previously had, where you would come in, I believe it was at that time called tentative. Is that right? Yeah, tentative, preliminary, and then final. That was kind of misleading to the public in that when they would show up, it's tentative, then they show up, it's preliminary. There's really no way to convey to the public that this is serious and you need to show up. Tentative kind of sounds, it's tentative. Now we have concept level and construction plans and final. I mean, when we get to construction plans and final, that tells the public, hey, look, this is the final plat that this developer's submitting, and there aren't going to be any changes after it's approved. At concept, this is where we go to the commission, it's lines on paper, they go do the engineering. This conceptual pond they put on paper is too small, it's too big, it's in a wrong spot. That's when the engineering at the construction documents come in to play, and they spend the money to determine where the infrastructure is going to be, how big it's going to be, and things like that.
So would you, and I'm not asking for your legal opinion, just your planning
Thank you.
opinion, is this is not the time to address those issues. This is just that's the next step.
Correct.
But this particular issue is just whether or not the piece of paper he submitted, the lines on the paper, do they meet our code?
Specifically the zoning classification for the lot layout,
Right.
the width for the streets, things like that. Very, very basic.
Okay, thank you. I had one more question, Madam, for legal. I'm not sure which part of our legal wants to answer, but it should be easy.
Will I ask your question?
All right, thanks, Justin. So in this particular situation, it's the council's in a weird spot in terms of we're not here legislatively, more so as we're just here to see if what the developer submitted doesn't meet our code, not if it's a good idea.
Speaking generally, you're acting as an appellate body reviewing the decisions.
So even though
made
we're
by the plan.
legislators, we're judges today, in a sense. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Mr. Rowling.
Thank you, Ms. Tanner. Ross, really quick. Sorry, Ross. Continue to do that. One thing I know, Mr. Allen, he really does his research. If you've known him for years, he really does. And, we're not discounting that at all. But I know he mentioned that it flooded around 6 times in a 100-year flood situation. Do you know if planning and zoning knew that at the time, and can you verify? Because that's really my main concern right now is the flooding issue. I think the DEQ will take care of itself, yes or no, or not.
Yeah.
That's kind of, is the property, a good property to have so many homes on it based on flooding 6 times, as was stated, in a 100-year flood. So do you know anything more about that?
I'll say I don't know what the definition of flooding is in this particular regard, at this particular location, or on those particular dates, because I have none of that information. What I will tell you is that to get from conceptual level to the construction documents and final plat, the H&H study will have to be completed. We have to look at BFEs. We have to look at all these issues at the next step. So right now, it wasn't really part of the purview of a zoning change to look at those items, but it is now.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Ms. O'Brien?
Don't go anywhere, Ross. Okay, I have the same concerns Larry has, but I understand, and I think the public probably struggles to understand. This is the concept plan. We look at traffic and drainage later, typically, for a subdivision plot like this. Can you reiterate our requirements, a 25% reduction in water flow?
So I will say it this way because that's the Department of Engineering, and I'm not an engineer, I'm a planner. But I believe that 25% is a reduction in the rate of runoff off the property prior to any development. So the property as of now, which is undeveloped, after it's developed, it has to reduce the rate of runoff by 25% as existing now, but calculated at full development.
So if we approve this and it goes to that point, engineering will evaluate, and if they cannot meet that requirement, they will not be able to build, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. They won't get the permits they're supposed to.
Okay.
They're able to. They have to obtain the correct permits and have the correct calculations to be able to obtain a work order.
Okay, and also you mentioned federal. Is that Corps of Engineers that will be evaluating that?
I'm sure. I'm sure they have something to look at.
I remember the Corps of Engineers came to one of my public meetings, and somebody complained they only deny about 1% of people's requests, but they don't have to in many cases because the requirements are so expensive that a lot of people self-select and remove themselves. So I understand it's pretty tough. So I feel a little bit better given those answers. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Phillips?
Is this mine? Okay, I'm in a different seat, that's why I had to check. Okay, 3 quick questions. Is this a no net fill area?
Again, that's the Department of Engineering.
Okay.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
That's fine. Does the developer already own this land?
That's a question for the developer.
Okay. Well, one other question before you leave is, even though we're not putting it on paper or whatever, I would think if I'm going to do something, I'm going to have a vision of what I'm doing. Is this on slab or these elevated houses?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really going to be based on the H&H studies to be determined. So we're just not at that stage yet. Okay. Is that a possibility? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that's not a possibility right now because the engineering studies have not been completed. We're just not at that level yet.
Okay, and then at the next stage, the people get to have some input again?
Absolutely have a public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bender?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ross? Sorry you had to walk, buddy.
I figured the developer was coming up for that question.
Let me ask this. So, is there a benefit for a conceptual plan to be appealed to the parish council?
Yes.
And what is the benefit?
It's part of the public process. I mean, it's a benefit to someone who has been denied or someone that has been approved. It's really just part of the process that if someone feels aggrieved, they should have the right to come to the appellant body in this regard would be the parish council.
Oh, so, no, I understand that. My question, I'm not trying to, put you on the spot, okay, is I understand if we have a conceptual plan in our planning development stage, that there has to be an appeal process to the council by either side.
Yeah.
Okay. But is there a benefit to the conceptual plan that helps you as the director of the Planning and Development Department, helps our engineering director and anyone else on the administrative side?
I'm just not sure I followed the question.
Okay, let me just remove the question. I'm trying to understand the value of a conceptual plan.
Okay. So the conceptual plan, definitely valuable.
Okay.
So what it does is it allows, and again, I think what I mentioned before in the Land Development Code, it was called tentative. Conceptual is not very different than tentative, but it's tentative to us sound a little bit weak. Conceptual sounds like I'm putting this concept together on paper and bringing it to the commission. So the value of it is you have zoning, you have a piece of property, it may be oddly shaped, it may be a perfect rectangle, everyone's different. You have different levels of floodplains, you know, BFEs, things like that. But it allows the surrounding community to come at the first public hearing to see what may be coming to their neighborhood, let's call it, to their surrounding area. So yeah, I think it has huge benefits to a conceptual level because it puts out there what the next step is. If this is conceptual, it gets everybody involved early.
Gotcha, good answer, thank you. So Mr. Allen, who I respect a lot, I don't know where Mr. Allen, you care, you come to quite a few of our meetings, okay? And you're to be applauded for that, okay? I don't personally care for some of the things you said, okay? Because I don't believe them to be completely true, that we always side with the developer. That's just not the case. I want to be very clear about that, okay?
I'll agree with you.
Yes. But Mr. Allen raised the point that how could we go forward with this? And we're all talking before it gets to the district councilwoman, okay? Without knowing what DEQ is going to do. But correct me if I'm wrong. We can't know right now what DEQ is going to do. Doesn't DEQ have the final say as to whether anything gets built or not?
In regards to their purview, absolutely. If they can't meet the metrics and obtain approvals, then right.
Okay,
so it's not just limited to DEQ, it's LDH, it's
LDH,
federal.
DEQ,
It's St. Tammany Parish ordinances.
The Planning and Development Department.
Yep.
Being conceptual, this is at a minimal stage. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, this is when, again, you get the public involved and say, you put the signs out, you put the yellow signs out, you know, we send the letters out, we have the public hearing. Again, that's the first opportunity that people get to come out and speak either for or against something that's going on in their immediate area. So.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam.
Yeah, this is just a very minimal first step.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Kugel, one more time?
Yeah, one more. I respect what Mr. Allen said. Actually, a lot of times I agree with him, especially considering my district, how much of Pearl River is in it. I just want to make sure, so Mr. Allen and anyone of the same mindset will have another opportunity to address concerns about flooding and DEQ in a much more substantive way.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, when those reports come in, we'll provide them to the commission. Everybody has a right to do a public records request and get those reports themselves and do their own scrutiny of it, you know, and hopefully with the same expertise of those particular reports. But, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Did Ross go now?
No, please stay. Mr. Laughlin, one more time.
Thank you, ma'am. Ross, you're free to go. I have a question for the developer. If you would come up, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. So, just to be clear, and just to give you the benefit, to give you an equal footing, I am like my colleague, Mr. Kugel. I'm not a big fan of subdivisions and things like that. But at this stage, you're not asking us. You asked the Planning and Zoning Commission, if I understand it correctly. You submitted a drawing, and you're saying, now I want to see and actually spend some money to see if it's possible to develop this subdivision. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have to submit a plat in accordance with the zoning.
Right.
That plat meets by way of lot size, all the different parameters of that specific zoning classification. That's what they look at this point. Yes, at this point, $480,000 will be spent in engineering to engineer. First thing will be done was a topographic survey of the property. We look at every single elevation. Obviously, that feeds into the drainage impact analysis, which will include upstream impacts, downstream impacts of where our theoretical discharge of the drainage will then enter the creek. We have to do studies upstream, downstream, how that affects that. Everybody gets that.
Right.
That has to be approved, and I have to receive a permit.
So you actually jumped to my next questions, because my next question was how much you're going to spend on that. So you're just asking permission to get started. You're not asking,
all.
yeah, to see if it's even possible.
That is correct.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Phillips, and then we will go to Ms. Casabon.
Okay, Ross, just real quick.
Yep.
If this is appealed at the next stage, do they have to pay another fee to appeal it?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we did, I want to say 2022, we looked at a lot of line items that were, fees and for the departments of engineering, permits and inspections, and planning and development. I want to say 62 of them we changed. We instituted 12 more new fees, and appeals came a little bit after that. So we looked at hard and soft costs of what it costs the department, the council office, the administration by way of processing, mailing, advertising, and it was over $250, but slightly. So we determined that $250 was a proper cost for an appeal. So yes, if you file an appeal, it will cost $250.
Ms. Casabon.
Yes. To David, I can answer one of your questions about the planning and zoning denying the concept plan, because this is really, you have to stop and think about it for how many years we haven't had subdivisions, coming through even the planning and zoning. And when I think it was tabled, I think it was tabled the first time, and the second time it came back, that some of the zoning commissioners thought that he totally changed the plan, okay? Well, that was in between the time that I had looked at it and I had some concern. I gave him all my concerns about this particular area. So it was denied by planning and zoning because it was a matter of them thinking he switched plans. And like I said, he changed a concept. So at that point, I met with the developer and our staff, and two zoning commissioners came to that meeting, and we said, okay, what are you presenting? What concept plan are you presenting? So that's how that kind of happened. And then it was appealed to us. But this is what we used to call the tentative plan, which I don't like the term concept. I guess there is a different meaning to it, but at the tentative is when you looked at it and said, okay, what is appropriate to go there? And then at preliminary, which is now what we're calling the construction plan and documents, is where they begin to gather all the information that's needed. Our codes have changed tremendously since we did this years ago, that now we do have so many different agencies that we're working with a lot more than we used to. Like I said, we wouldn't, I think, have the problems that we have now if we used the developmental codes that we're using. So right now, again, this is a concept plan. We don't know, some of this with the drainage, he may not be able to put that many lots in. That's what's happened on a lot of subdivisions, that once they get everything in place, they find they can't put that many in. But the bottom line is that they have to meet all our state codes and our parish codes. And I'd like to make a motion to, I guess it would be to concur
with the planning and zoning's decision to move forward with this concept plan.
Do I have a second, Mr. Burke? Okay. We are voting to approve the planning council's approval. Please vote by your lights.
The motion is unanimous with 3 absent.
And now we need a resolution. Ms. Castleheim?
With 2 absent, I'm sorry.
Okay. Second, Mr. Burke.
You need to vote.
Please vote by your lights
For resolution?
for the resolution.
Yes.
Oh, that's right, it's not.
And that motion is unanimous with 2 absent.